Hey, welcome back to DieCash Cars. So I hate to have to be the one to break it to you guys, but JDM is dead. Psych. April Fools, everybody. JDM is not dead. In fact, JDM is more alive now than it's been in the last 2 decades, ever since the 90s, guys. But even still, we have a lot of folks, a lot of naysayers out there that are just certain that JDM is purely a fad. It's going to fade away and we're going to go back to Corvettes and Camaros. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the nice Z06 or an IROC Camaro. I mean, I'm a fan of those cars, but for some reason, guys, when it comes to diecast, JDM is just the king right now. I mean, when you're talking about premiums and mainlines, the first cars that fly off the shelf are R34s and EK9 Civics. I still recall last year when this Liberty Walk Nissan Silvia S15 debuted, and I know a lot of people told me it was ugly. I even kind of thought, what is this little egg themed Silvia drift car? But after you do some research and obviously you understand what Liberty Walk is all about and what they were doing with this car, and the fact that this is an actual car in real life that has a lot of buzz. I mean, this thing did not sit on the pegs for very much longer after that knowledge was known to this day, to where 2023 we have the red edition, and this thing basically started off the year in the right direction for JDM. I mean, essentially a release that never sat on the pegs and was immediately fetching upwards of $20 on the secondary market. I mean, you guys probably saw my last video where I opened up one of the Carculture premium box sets off of Walmart. I was able to get box number 2 out of 4 for 2022, which did have the ER34 chase for mountain drifters, and it was pretty interesting, and I hope the gentleman doesn't mind. But right after I posted up that video, I got a trade offer in my email for not this Tri-5 gasser, but the actual RLC Flying Tiger 55 gasser out of 10,000, and I was pretty shocked that someone would offer such a limited quantity full premium release of such a sought after cast for just a store-bought premium chase, albeit it's got a lot of hype, a lot of value right now. And speaking of, I mean, we know that the ER34 chase currently right now sells for about $250 to $270. The Flying Tiger gasser at this very moment has actually come down in value. I recall a point where it was pretty close to $300, but now it's dropped all the way down to about $220. So that's pretty surprising for such a exclusive, sought after cast. I believe Hot Wheels and Mattel even realizes the significance of JDM within the automotive industry as well as diecast. I mean, you guys can see in the last couple of years with the Legends Tour car, I mean, the purpose of this Legends Tour car is to give us a recreation of some of the most sought after super treasure hunts in the last 15-20 years, right? So they started us off with the legendary Junimai 510 wagon recolor in green, and then they jumped over to a domestic. You got the Chevy 83 Silverado. Then we had the Bel Air gasser, and I know this isn't the Legends Tour, but you get the idea. It was a gold color premium 55 gasser. And then jumped to just last year, 2022, we got the R32 Godzilla. And then rounding us out for 2023, we're gonna get the Honda S2000 in this same exact Super Treasure Hunt deco, but this time in purple. So by my count, the last 5 Legend Tour cars, you got 2 domestics, and now we're going on 3 JDM Super Treasure Hunt recreations for the Legends Tour car. And I'm not here to say that JDM is better than USDM. All I'm saying is that it's comparable as far as the popularity, as far as the growth in market, as to even the manufacturer, even Hot Wheels is recognizing that and giving us, the collectors, what we want. And that is honestly a good mix of JDM as well as USDM, as well as Euro, as well as exotics. I mean, JDM is so influential that it's made its way over into the fantasy lineup. So taken after the Bosuzuka style, I mean, you got these giant Raging Express trucks that have these JDM inspired graphics. I mean, Japanese letters. It's essentially the whole entire cast is after the Bosuzuka style. You got recolors. I know this is the second year that we've seen this cast. And then, believe it or not, this Dodge van, yes, a USDM Mopar or no car Dodge van, is JDM inspired. I mean, the Doji bonds, we talked about it a number of times on this channel, but Dodge vans that are tricked out within the Japanese car culture scene to drift down the mountains, Toge style, Initial D style. And Hot Wheels captured that in 1/64 scale, which is very interesting. So even the cars that aren't technically JDM are JDM inspired. And I have one last one to share with you guys. Isn't that cute? The VW koolkombi, and I know there's nothing JDM about this except for the little Sanrio Hello Kitty graphic on there, which is 100% JDM, guys. And we know how popular this koolkombi was. I would argue that this looks so much better than the koolkombi with the Moon Eyes graphics on it. And I'm sure from a collectability standpoint, collectors like them both the same. I think everybody can relate to JDM cars in one point of their life or another, because there had to be a time in your life where you wanted a fuel efficient, gas saving car, and immediately your mind would go to the Honda Civic. Little four banger, barely 100 horsepower. And a lot of times these were what your first car looked like. Odd little hatchback looking gas saving cars, but that's what we got. And as we dreamed about Ferraris and Lamborghinis, with this in our garage, we did whatever we could to make it as respectable as possible. That's where modifications would take place, and that's why today Honda Civics are so relatable. You also got the mom Toyota van from back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's pretty classic. I can still recall seeing that car drive down the road. And then you got the Mazda Miata. I mean, basically the poor man's race car. But these cars, as light as they were, rear-wheel drive, with a pretty powerful engine for its size, put a lot of muscle cars to shame on the racetracks. And the last argument, Fast and Furious. How can you forget the franchise that put JDM cars on the map? I feel like right after 1999, after the movie debuted, JDM just took off. That and nitrous bottles in your car, whether they were functional or not. But undeniably the biggest catapult for JDM in general, which sparked an entire lineup of cars within Hot Wheels and diecast, which grew the JDM interest overall for collectors. I mean, Fast and Furious, the whole entire franchise, I would argue, and again, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I would argue it's just as big as any other franchise out there, such as Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. It's got that big of a cult following, guys, and the cars themselves are legendary at this point, especially the Supra, the Eclipse, the Skyline, just to name a few. I mean, Paul Walker, rest in peace, really made a name for himself, the franchise, as well as these cars. And guys, they're not going away at all. Neither is JDM. So JDM, is it just a fad? Is it gonna die eventually? I don't think so, guys. I mean, please make the argument if you have any opposition to what I'm saying, guys. But JDM is alive and well. JDM is like the cat with 9 lives. You can kill it, it'll keep coming back. It's here to stay, guys, and I am proud to be a JDM fan. I am proud to be a JDM collector, as I believe everybody has a little bit of love for JDM in their diecast collections. But that's what I got for you guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on DieCash Cars.